All right, let's dive into this college basketball matchup. Purdue versus UCLA, February 28th, 2025. Looks like it could be a high-scoring game. At least that's what these articles are saying.
Yeah, it's looking pretty interesting, especially since they're both tied for fourth place in the Big Ten, both 11 and 6.
Yeah, and Purdue's been trying to break this four-game losing streak, while UCLA has won like 9 out of their last 11. So the stakes are high for both teams. But what really caught my eye is all these predictions for betting the over.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the first thing that jumps out. The over-under is set at 140.5 points.
When you look at their averages, right, they're averaging a combined 152.3 points per game.
Yeah, you're talking almost 12 points higher than that over-under.
That's a huge difference. So let's break it down. Purdue's playing at home. And a lot of these articles are talking about Mackey Arena being a real advantage for them.
Yeah, and their home stats definitely back that up. They're averaging 84.7 points per game at home. That's almost 15 points more than what they score on the road.
Whoa, okay. So right there, that's already higher than the over-under.
Yeah.
So what about UCLA? Can they keep up? Or I guess the better question is, can they slow them down?
Well, their average is 74.8 points a game. Puts them at 148 offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad, but, significantly lower than Purdue, especially at home.
But I'm guessing there's more to it, right?
Yeah,
UCLA wouldn't be tied with them if they were just letting everybody score at will.
exactly. What they lack in offensive firepower, they definitely make up for with defense. They're ranked 21st in the nation, allowing just 64.6 points per game.
Okay, so it's kind of an offense versus defense battle here.
Yeah.
Purdue loves to score, especially at home.
Yeah,
But UCLA is known for shutting teams down.
exactly. And that makes the over-under really interesting to look at, right?
Yeah.
Is Purdue going to be able to overpower that defense, or will UCLA be able to, hold them back?
This is already getting me excited. But before we go too crazy, let's look at some players too. Because sometimes, games can come down to individual players, right?
Absolutely. And Purdue's got Braden Smith. He's been he's been doing amazing things all season at point guard. He's averaging 8.6 assists per game, which is second in the nation only to Gonzaga's Ryan Nembhard.
Oh, wow.
And he's also putting up 15.8 points per game himself.
So he's like a double threat then. If he's both assisting and scoring, that's going to help them get to that over. Who does UCLA have to counter that?
Well, their leading scorer is Tyler Bilodeau. He's averaging 13.9 points a game. Doesn't have quite the passing ability of Smith, but he's consistent, definitely key to their offense.
So they both have players who can score. But then there's also the momentum thing. UCLA is coming in on a hot streak, and Purdue's trying to break a losing streak. Does that add to it?
Yeah, that desperation can be a big factor. They're going to want to get out there and prove themselves.
Especially at home. I can imagine the crowd getting loud and just feeding that energy.
Yeah, but we also need to remember that Purdue has been struggling against top-ranked opponents. All 4 of their last losses were against top 25 teams.
Oh, yeah. So does that mean they can't handle the pressure?
Not necessarily, but it does show that they have a tougher time against, really well-coached, disciplined teams.
Yeah.
And UCLA is definitely that.
Okay, so we've got Purdue's home court advantage, right?
Yeah.
And their need to win pushing towards the over.
Right.
But their struggles against ranked teams, that pushes back a little.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a seesaw. Where do we go from here?
I think the next step is to dig into some of the more specific numbers. Like, how have these teams done against the spread, and how do their opponents' points per game match up against these over-under lines?
Ooh, yeah, that sounds like we're getting into the nitty-gritty. All right, let's do it.
So one thing I noticed when looking at these numbers is how they've performed against the spread when facing similar point totals. Purdue has a 9-6 record against the spread when favored by 5.5 points or more, which means they're usually hitting those over.
Oh, so even when they're playing tougher teams, they're still putting up the points.
Yeah, at least that's what the trend suggests. But then on the other side, you've got UCLA. They've gone 1-0 against the spread when they're the underdog by 5.5 or more. Granted, it's only one game, but
Right.
something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So both teams have at least shown they can cover in similar situations. Anything else we can get from past performance?
Well, this surprised me a little. Both Purdue and UCLA have held their opponents to an average of 5.8 points fewer than the set over-under for their respective games.
Wait, so their defenses are even better than just the basic stats show?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is. And then when you look at the average over-under lines for both teams, Purdue's average over-under this season has been 7.1 points higher than the 140.5 we're looking at for this game.
Hold on. So the over-under for this game is actually lower than what we usually see for Purdue?
Right.
even though they have that crazy offense at home.
Yeah. It seems like the odds makers are maybe expecting a slower, more defensive game than we typically see from Purdue.
Interesting. So are they underestimating Purdue, or are they seeing something specific about this matchup? What about UCLA then? What do their over-unders usually look like?
For them, it's actually 1.1 points lower than what's set for this game.
Okay, so let me get this straight. For Purdue, the over-under is lower than their average, but for UCLA, it's actually a little higher.
Exactly.
Whoa, that's wild.
It is. It makes things tricky.
Yeah.
We have to consider those past trends, but also remember this game is its own thing. There's the momentum, the stakes, the players, and of course, Purdue's home court.
It sounds like we need to go even deeper then. Do these articles say anything about strategy, like how the teams match up?
One thing that stands out is Purdue's reliance on three-pointers, especially Braden Smith. He's averaging 2.1 threes per game, and if he has a good night, well, those points can add up quickly.
But wouldn't UCLA try to shut that down with their defense?
Oh, for sure, but that's where Purdue's home court advantage could come in. UCLA averages almost 10 points fewer on the road.
What?
So it's possible they could struggle to contain Purdue in Mackey Arena.
So even with a good defense, UCLA might not be able to stop all of Purdue's scoring, especially those three-pointers.
Right. And we can't forget UCLA's own offense. Bilo, their leading scorer, he averages 1.3 three-pointers a game himself.
Right.
So while they're not as explosive as Purdue, they can definitely score.
It seems like everything is pointing to a high-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
Two good offenses, a loud crowd, and a point total that seems kind of low when you look at what they usually score. But something's still missing.
We haven't looked at those actual score predictions yet.
Oh, right, from the articles. We've been building up to this. What do they say?
So Bleacher Nation and iHeart Sports both predict Purdue will win, but that's not the big news.
Come on, spill it. What about the over-under?
They both say bet the over. Bleacher Nation predicts 74-70 Purdue.
Okay.
And iHeart Sports says 74-69.
Wow, they both think it's going to be a close, high-scoring game, even after considering all the other stuff. This is getting intense.
It is, and it just shows you how hard it is to predict sports. Even with all this information, there are always surprises, you know?
Totally. So for our listeners who are thinking of betting on this game, what's the most important thing they should remember after this deep dive?
I'd say don't just get caught up in the excitement of a potential shootout. Remember, UCLA has a really strong defense, and Purdue hasn't been great against top teams lately.
So it's not as simple as just betting the over.
No, it's about looking at everything, offense and defense. It's about understanding the matchup and making the best decision based on what you know.
Good advice. Knowledge is power, right? Especially with something like sports betting, where anything can happen. So Purdue has a great offense. They usually score a lot of points.
Yeah.
That pushes us towards the over.
Yeah.